So now we've got some paragraph copy on our first blog post. We're going to take a look at using header tags. Now, without going into too much detail about HTML, paragraph or body text like this is normally kept between P tags, like you see these here. Now don't worry, we're not going to go into detail about HTML, but it is useful to know a bit, so I will be touching on it in these initial lessons. And there is a section in the accompanying book with some basic HTML to help you should you ever need it, and where you haven't got the what you see is what you get type editor that you've got here, and you've only got a plain text editor. But this text here is what is known as body or paragraph text. So that'll go between these P tags, which are basically just a P like that, and then paragraph. It's a paragraph text, okay, and then you close it with a slash and then a P. And so if I just update that, just as I did in the earlier lesson, and then refresh our page, then we've got another paragraph text. Now, the other type of text that we have is headers, and headers are both visually larger and more easily seen by your visitors to your website, and they're also favored by search engines when they search and crawl through your website, which we'll be going on to later in the course. So if your blog post was about a WordPress tutorial, for example, and you wanted Google to know that your blog post was about a WordPress tutorial, so that when someone comes along to Google and types in WordPress tutorial, the chances of your blog post coming up closer to the top are higher if your blog post has header tags containing the words WordPress tutorial. So to add a header tag or a header to your web page or your post, just type in, this is a header. So this is just a demonstration. You put in what you need to put in, okay, and then you select it, and then you've got header 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and 6, okay, and depending on your theme, or which we'll be going into later, the CSS that's set up for your website, this will make it smaller, a larger. A header 1 is the biggest, and then header 6 is the smallest. And Google and other search engines will put the most emphasis on H1 and H2 tags as it goes through. So I'm going to call this first header my first blog post, and then what I'm going to do below that is I'm going to put an H2 tag and say first paragraph, okay, and then just press update. So this is an H1 here, header, heading 1, and a header 2, okay, so let's update that, and if we refresh the page, you see there's the H1, which is bigger, and then the H2 is below that. So then this might be, for example, your main page header, and then your header, then your subheading, and then you can put another one in here which might be your header 3 tag, so subheading, okay. So let's select that and then have that as an H3. So if I update that, you should see the difference in sizes. So to show you those, I'm just going to type in here header 1, header 2, and so on, okay, 3, header 4, header 5, and header 6, okay, and then let's assign them, each one, just by selecting them and then choosing them from the drop down list up here, and we'll have a look at them in the live front end preview, or the front end of the website. So H5 and H6, okay, don't worry too much about the pre-formatted option on there, that bottom one there, and then let's refresh that and have a look. So there's our header tags as set out in the standard default 2016 WordPress theme. So you can see they get gradually smaller, with header 4 being all in block capitals, and that's just the way that this theme is styled. So remember that they're both not just only visually more striking if they're in the larger header, but also that Google crawls them more. So use headers, and let's undo that, delete that, and then if I just, that's doing that because it's in that H1, so make that a paragraph text again. And then in HTML, where we've got our paragraph, which is a p tag, this is a piece of paragraph copy. Okay. If you wanted to do a header using HTML, you would just do the number, so it might be H1, header 1, or header 2, or header 3, for example. Okay, and then you just close it with the / at the end there, in between these angular brackets, and then update that and refresh. Okay, and that's basically how you use headers on your web page. So refer to the guide for a little bit of HTML and a little bit more detail on them, and remember that they're not just more visually striking, but they're also have more emphasis, or the Google crawl bots have put more emphasis on the header tags than they do on the copy.